naturally.
Good morning. Welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. I'm Roth, Cornet, and we have a logo for you today.
Best logo in the biz.
We just really wanted to drive home where you are at right now. Dan Murrell is here.
Hello.
Danielle Radford. Yay! Spencer Gilbert.
Good morning.
And of course, we are joined, as always, by Superman. We are going to talk about Mustache Gate today. We have the Hobbit recut to discuss. Oh, good.
No.
Suits, how are you feeling this morning?
I'm doing quite well.
Oh.
Stereo.
That's his power. That's another superpower we didn't even know about. So new details around Mustache Gate have been revealed. This is via Empire Magazine's podcast, who did a spoiler breakdown with Mission Impossible Fallout director Christopher McQuarrie, and they of course asked about the stash because of course they did. Why wouldn't you? And here's what he said. He talked about having a conversation with Warner Brothers producer Charles Roven. Yeah. Wait, go back to the statue. Wait, uncanny!
Statue looks more realistic.
Come to Butthead.
So this is what he said. When the question... baby mouth. When the question came out, the reshoots for Justice League, around the reshoots for Justice League, Roven called me and he said, "We need your help. We need to shave Henry's mustache, man. We need him to come back. We need him to do these reshoots." And I said, "Look, Chuck, naturally I want to do everything I can to help you, but I also have to think about our production. Let me talk to everybody and figure out what the scheduling would be." And I went back and I spoke to Mission Impossible Fallout producer Jake Myers, and the suggestion was made through channels that we shave the mustache and Henry could begin to grow the mustache back, and that then there would be some kind of digital enhancement and resources around that. Because, like it or not, a fake mustache in close-up on 75 millimeters lens is never going to look like anything but a fake mustache. That's
true.
where, if you like fake mustaches, we have a video for you. Talk about that in a minute.
Lug.
He went on to say, "So we offered the following compromise. Jake Myers calculated the amount of money that it would take to replace the number of shots, and essentially what Jake was able to project was about $3 million in visual effects."
That's to create a
So
mustache.
To
create a
create,
mustache.
to fill in the mustache that he would then have time to grow. So we said, here's what we'll do. Give us $3 million and we'll shut down. That will give Henry Cavill the time to grow his mustache back, and we'll just shut our movie down. Well, he said, we said, we'll do this, at which point somebody from Paramount Pictures said, "What is going on? What are you people even talking about?" They're like, "There's no way we're going to do that." And we were just like, "Oh, okay." And that was the best plan we could come up with. What I love about this story is that I just can imagine the frustration and annoyance of the executive involved, who was like, "What are you doing? You have no authority to make that call." And even if they would have done it, probably was then just throwing around their weight like, "Well, now we're not going to do it. Screw you, Warner Brothers."
Wow.
I mean, I don't know that that's what
Yeah.
happened, but can you imagine how annoyed that executive probably was?
Well, yeah. First of all, if you're Paramount Pictures, you're like, whoa, what? No,
What are you
we're not
doing?
we're not doing that. Here's the irony, though, because I looked up the timeline on this. This story broke on July 24th, so this probably all happened in June or July, whatever. In August, Tom Cruise hurt himself.
And they shut
down.
down.
They shut down
Yep.
for 8 weeks. So if Warner's had just waited, now, to be fair, Justice League came out in November, so there's no way they could have done reshoots. But it is ironic that they couldn't shut down the movie, and then weeks later they would shut down the movie for many weeks at a time for an unrelated reason. But yeah, no, the Paramount Pictures guys... Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's his job, is to say, like, no, we are not going to shut down the movie so that you can shave a mustache and go do another movie.
For
No,
a
that's
competing
not going to
studio.
happen.
Yeah.
That's his job, and it's the guy at Warner Brothers' job to beg Christopher McQuarrie to shut down his movie so that they could shave the mustache.
I love that the only person who does not have any say in his own face is Henry Cavill.
Yes.
Yes.
You have all of these conversations happening around what happens with one dude's face. I don't see his name being involved anywhere in these
Well,
discussions.
no, of course not. Yeah, I mean, he is the last person who would get any choice in that matter.
Yeah, it's that's the way it goes, right? When you ask like human beings to help each other out, they generally do so. But then when you get money and stock prices involved, and they're like,
No, we'll never do this for you. That wouldn't be profitable.
so good job for throwing your weight around, Paramount. we could have gotten a non-creepy mouth, and it seems like they would have covered the cost for it. It seems like they had found like human to human solution for this, and it looks like, and they're like,
No, we can't help you.
No. But movie productions are insanely complicated to do, and basically what you had here was Christopher McQuarrie essentially saying like, yeah, we'll just shut down for a few days, like. The catastrophic ripple effect of we'll just shut down for a few days,
but let's be real, like Jake Myers, the producer of the movie, knows how that would work and figured out a budget. Johnny Executive doesn't know. He's just got a vendetta, and he doesn't want to help anybody.
I don't think that's the case here. I think it's two studios. You have one movie that's going full steam ahead. And, I mean, that's just how the business works. You hired this guy for a window of time. Yeah. You had him, you owned him, you had a window of time. Now he's working for us.
Yeah.
And, if you could give him the mustache and whatever, it's a case of like shuffling the schedules around, maybe you can work something out. But to be like, we're going to vastly inconvenience your movie, cost, even if you're going to pay it, that's still time, effort, that's the director's time to approve those visual effects shots. What if something goes wrong and you end up, instead of a mustache situation in Justice League, you have one in Mission Impossible?
Yeah.
Like it's a I get it. It's an X factor you cannot afford.
I get the executive's decision as well, because it's like their only job is to protect Paramount Pictures, not Warner Brothers. And by the way, Warner Brothers doesn't need protecting. Paramount Pictures does. They're the ones in trouble. They're the ones that needed Mission to work for them. They're the ones that then they did have to shut down, unfortunately. But their job isn't to look after the interests of Warner Brothers. The producers, to your point, to be fair, you're right. They worked out an on-the-ground solution, but the producers also eventually going to work with other studios, and they want those relationships to be solid with other studios as well. Paramount Pictures is looking out for Paramount Pictures, and that's their job. They should be.
No, it's not that I don't understand where they're coming from. Just my sympathies lie with the people actually making the things, and not with the people looking after a board of directors to answer to or whatever.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's not a board of directors move. It's literally like I have a crew to keep going, and I can't. I don't think they don't come off as unsympathetic. It just seems like Christopher McQuarrie is doing kind of what you're describing, which is like, I'm an artist, I'm going to try to help out another artist. Hey, let's push some numbers around and blah, blah. And then you have somebody that from up high that has to be the bad guy that has to say, no, there are any number of things that could go wrong with this.
Productions are, they are like a Swiss watch. Like there are so many different moving parts. It's hard to kind of throw a stick in that and be like, okay, well, we're just going to stop all the gears and make everything not go anymore. But I don't know. Part of me, and I don't know, this is all speculation, is could it be that they knew that the answer was going to be no all along, but it's like, I'm not going to be the bad guy. I will let them be the bad guy and preserve my relationships.
But which is a smart thing to do.
Which is really smart.
Yeah, because they do want to continue to work with other studios and seem amenable to that. And maybe they were like, this could work. And I think everybody kind of did their job in this situation. And the people that lost were Soups and Baby Mouth, unfortunately.
Yeah, we lost because of this. The Justice League lost.
Justice League lost as a result. Yeah, I mean, it's like kind of too bad, but it could have gone the other way, in which we were talking about the ridiculous CGI mustache, instead of whatever that arm pop.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no guarantee that, like Christopher McQuarrie said, in the 70s, they're shooting this movie. I don't know what they were shooting at the time, but a lot of that movie was shot in IMAX. And like he says, a fake mustache looks like a fake mustache. And I think that goes to CG as well. If you have a big close-up of Henry Cavill, and you have a big fake mustache, that's a problem with your movie now.
Can you imagine if he's cocking his finger arms and there's a fake mustache, that suddenly goes from being super cool to the dumbest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I do think that they made the right call. It's just an unfortunate series of circumstances that no one could have predicted.
Yeah, unfortunate series of events. Yeah.
Henry Cavill in the series of unfortunate events. He's doing okay though, and and ultimately, this is the other thing is, again, with Warner Brothers, it's like, that wasn't going to make or break Justice League. It was a big deal, or it was like a part of the movie, but it wasn't going to make or break the movie. And also, they'll be fine. They're DC. They will be fine.
I just wonder if there was a point, because like I said, Tom Cruise hurt himself in August.
Yeah.
And they shut down for a while. Now, maybe Henry Cavill, they were shooting other stuff with Henry Cavill, although it seemed like it was kind of deep into the production. But you would think when that happened, they had to have been doing tests by then of the Superman mustache, and I know August getting into September is perilously close to a November release date, but at the same time, like, my thing now, I wonder, is when that other shutdown happened, like, how hard did Warner Brothers push to be like, I know this is gonna be extremely costly at this point, but this is not working. Like, we've got, even if you just redo the opening, because that was the worst part, and it's the first thing you see in the movie. Yeah. The very first
Whose
thing.
mouth is that?
It's his mouth.
Whose mouth
No,
is
but
it
like
anyway?
literally. Like, was it him with the mustache and then they just removed the mustache?
Yeah, they just
painted
removed
out
the
the
mustache. But when they painted out the mustache, I feel like they just painted out a large chunk of his mouth and made it really little.
Right.
And they just made it into this little baby
You
mouth.
have to, like,
Because then they were like, they just had to get that out, and then suddenly there was no little. It was just so little.
Would it have been would it have been better to put him in one of those, like, you know, those motion capture things? Did they do that? Where they do it all over the face, and then they could just, like, Detroit becoming human, his whole face on?
I don't know.
A full CGI head.
A full CGI head. I almost wonder if that would have been better.
I just wonder if they just at some point were casting their lots, or if they tried a second time to be
I think
like,
at some point
"We have to
everyone
do
just
this."
went.
What are we gonna do?
His mouth, this is what his mouth is going to be.
It is what it is. We have to move forward.
Mouth go mouth. What the hell?
Oh, poor Henry Cavill. If you like Henry Cavill and mustaches, and fake mustaches in particular, we have a video for you on the main channel with Mr. Hal Rudnick that you should check out. Shenanigans over there.
Disapproving Henry.
Topher, he does look really disapproving, actually. And I think he has a great sense of humor. We learned. Topher Grace is a thing. So he's in Black Klansman, Spike Lee's Black Klansman, and he plays...
My Venom, Topher Grace.
Yeah. He plays David Duke, Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard David Duke.
Basketball player?
No.
Oh,
Ku Klux
the other
Klan
one.
Grand Wizard David
The other
Duke,
Duke.
the most prominent white supremacist in history. So he was feeling a little blue about that, and he took it on, and he was like, I don't feel good in this role, naturally. And he said, in order to soothe myself, I am going to recut the Hobbit trilogy into a 2-hour movie.
Hell yeah!
I mean, wow.
Topher Grace and I are more like because I also embarked on this.
You did?
At a certain
this
point.
There's
journey?
a half-finished Murrell edit.
It's somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah,
you finished?
Then I got a girlfriend. and other things became a little more important. It's a great trade. I love the concept of producing The Hobbit, but I like
No, I think
love
you
my
won.
girlfriend a lot more. So
Yeah.
not that
Oh.
Topher Grace. This is
Poor
he did it for
Topher
different
Grace.
reasons. I'm just saying I can speak to the therapeutic nature of editing if that's something you enjoy.
Yeah, I think that we're learning a lot about Topher Grace in this conversation. So he said, I don't know what other guys do. Go fishing, which is the most amazingly out of touch thing to say ever. But he's like, but for me, this is just a great way to relax. There's something really zen about it, which I appreciate too. It's just like, I like the idea of it's like a hobby that has nothing really to do with your job, which is probably good for all of us, you know, that's just like a soothing, relaxing, artistic hobby that doesn't have the weight of professional need upon it. So he did it, and apparently it's pretty good. And he said, I think maybe The Hobbit should have been one movie. And many other people would agree. So apparently he's really good at this. And in 2012, he edited Star Wars, the prequels, into an 85-minute feature and was able to show it one time for people in the industry before it got shut down. But good for Topher Grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's very. I would often. I did it for. It's weird, but I edit for fun sometimes. If it's something you enjoy, there's something about. Plus, especially if you're doing a character like that, you do sort of or at least I did. You dissociate yourself a little bit in the sense that you're now immersed in this other thing, and it's very meticulous, and you're. It's like putting a puzzle together in a way. You know?
Imagine having to be that racist in front of Spike Lee and then just going home every night.
And cut. Are you sure it's okay that I say it? Are you sure? You sure? It's in the script. I'm gonna say it.
Action! Oh my God. Yeah, that's just got to be. I mean, I think I don't know, I'm not an actor, but I do think they probably get lost in these roles, and that's got to like just be very uncomfortable to live in that experience, you know? So good for you. You channeled that, and I'd like to see it. That's where I'm a little bitter, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I kind of wish I could see it.
So Topher, If we hook you up on one blind date each, because it seems like maybe that would be helpful, could we see the movie?
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to put my baggage on Topher Grace. I'm saying that's what took me away from it. I have a started Hobbit and I have a started Batman v Superman sitting on a hard drive somewhere. But you know, better things happened for me. So I don't want to say Topher Grace is
Lonely?
needs a girlfriend
Needs
or lonely,
love.
but I'm just saying like that's what I used to do. That's what soothed me when I had no other avenues oftentimes. So I can relate to that.
Some people have body pillows. Like, it just depends on what you're into.
Yeah, and one man's girlfriend is another's assistant editor. You know, sorting clips, bonding experience, labeling stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you guys could do like Ghost instead of pottery. It's just like your hands over hers while she
Ripple
edits.
delete, yeah.
No, it's much more fun to do other things that don't involve editing.
So Alf
Go
is
to
going to
the
get a
movies all the time.
reboot, as it turns out. I'm just going to pivot hard. Alf is going to get. Do you guys watch Alf ever?
I
Seen a
love.
few.
Yo.
Yeah.
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 Alien life form.
The Ochmonics. Alf, you've got to hide. The Ochmonics are coming.
So this is via the Wrap, and this is just so weird to me. It's in the early stages. This is a 1980 sitcom about this alien who ate cats. And that is what this is.
Yeah.
And it is now getting a reboot.
And family.
What's happening?
Because the sets aren't dangerous enough. If you've heard anything about the sets of Alf, they are notoriously dangerous because he's like a real like puppet that they've got to move around the set. So there's just all of these like trapdoors and holes everywhere, and you have to be really careful about where you walk so that you don't fall into a hole in the middle of this like living room
With
set.
like a dead Alf puppet underneath. Ooh, my
Staring
soulless
up at
eyes
you.
will devour yours.
I was obsessed with Alf when I was a kid. I loved it. I watched the cartoon. I had a bunch of the Alf books.
Wait, there were Alf books?
Yeah,
There's Alf everything.
There was Alf everything.
Wow.
I have to find it somewhere. I have a picture of myself from a kid wearing an Alf shirt that says like "No problemo" on it. And Alf's like, "Oh."
Was that
I
his
wonder.
catchphrase?
Hang on, that was one of them.
It was
I
one
got
of
it. I'm not to be rude, but I might have it on my phone. So
Okay,
yeah, we gotta
the
throw back
discussion.
Thursday.
I'm
That
gonna
up.
see if I can find it on.
We
my
gotta
phone.
throw back Thursday.
All
I
right.
always
You
dreamed.
guys vamp about Alf for a minute because then I got to kick to this other thing.
I always dreamed about like, because I was also really into Garfield and like
Sure.
Alf eats cats, Garfield eats lasagna. Like I always had this dream that they would like team up in a cartoon.
AVG,
And make
like
a
Alien vs.
lasagna.
Predator.
Wait. Would they then make a lasagna out of cat meat?
Well, that's
I
you
would
know,
just
if Alf wins.
If Alf wins, yeah, I would just imagine it would be Alf trying to eat Garfield and Garfield being like Mondays or whatever.
I would definitely watch an Alf versus Small Wonder, like Batman v Superman.
Oh my god.
There we go. All right, I found it.
How do
It
we-
actually says
here.
rock and roll.
Oh my
do
god.
And this is the most late 80s,
JT.
early 90s
Just put it
outfit
in front of
all
Superman.
time.
Yeah.
Put it in front of Superman.
Put it.
Oh my god.
Hey, Willie!
Oh, the Zubas. Oh, this is the best day of my life.
Here,
That
you want to
is-
zoom out? Here, let's zoom out. We'll do the whole thing. This was at Disney World, and I'd just been to Pirates of the Caribbean land, and I stocked up on sailor gear. And I would like to point out, I did not dress myself at this
Wait.
point in my life.
Did you? But you just said that you stocked up on sailor gear. so
Yes,
I'm
you
not-
did. Ahoy,
That is fresh from Pirates of the Caribbean store at Disney
Oh.
World. I got the sword, I got the hat.
It's also very gentlemanly, Dan. You
Yeah.
look like
Yeah.
you're going to bow to your opponent.
Maybe you're
before
about to pee.
swordsmanship. Swordplay ensues. He's just like,
That's great.
I hesitate to kill you, sir, but I certainly will. Great. Well, I
says
think
rock
this
and
has
roll.
been a good show so far, but other things are afoot. You are going to want to watch Movie Fights live today at 4 p.m. Clark Wolf versus Ed Greer versus Dun Dun Dun. Hal Rudnick is going
stepping
to
in.
fight.
I'll do
He's
it
stepping
myself.
into- Joe,
Fine.
Joe Starr is going to guest host. The Dans will be there. I think this is going to be a very, very fun one.
A great moment in sports.
Great moment. Hal Rudnick, at the height of his powers, is going to take on that's going to be a really interesting mix of energies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like Ed versus Hal versus Clark.
I love it.
I'm very excited for that. Questions for Fan Friday. We have a tab somewhere here on the YouTubes that says community page, and you can put your questions for Fan Friday for all of these folks. So do so. and we have an interview with the producer and director, Sean Levy, who's a producer for Stranger Things, among other things, for The Darkest Minds. Coming at you next. They're great. You should watch it. Do we have the thing about the Uncharted clip? So I asked Sean Levy about Uncharted, remember? Do we have that separate?
I think it's separate.
You know what I'm realizing? This is a conversation that should have taken place a half hour ago before we were on the air. I'm gonna get you that Uncharted clip for Fan Friday tomorrow.
In the meantime, watch something else.
But watch this other thing now. Bye. Hey guys, it's Roth, Cornet, and I am delighted today to be joined by Sean Levy and Jennifer U. Nelson, who are the producer and director, respectively, of The Darkest Minds. Welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Glad to be here.
This is a superhero movie that sits in a time of a lot of them. We're now seeing the super-powered movie that is the spy thriller, that is also a horror movie. What does it feel like the subgenre is for this, if there is one?
It's reality sci-fi, reality emotion.
Yeah, grounded sci-fi is how we've
Yeah.
always talked about it, and some of our favorite movies fall into that box. But really, it's about the resistance of that label. It's not an X-Men movie. It's not really a YA trope-filled movie. It's a character-based genre drama. That's not catchy.
Yeah.
But it kind of describes it.
It's got the feels. I mean, basically, you're gonna watch it, and there's a moment that hits you so hard that you're gonna cry and hug your significant other, or loved one, or pet, or anybody that you care about, and feel like you need to get up and do something.
It's got powers. It's got rad action and kind of lots of badassery, which Jen just kind of has a uniquely attuned sense of what will be cool on screen. But part of why we knew Jen was the right director is when she came in, she had a very clear visual sense of what the movie needed to be, but she had an equally strong emotional sense.
Things have changed dramatically in how we think about female directors, how we think about women in film. I'm curious, over the trajectory of you've already been a female, very wildly successful.
I've been a female all my life.
You've been a wildly successful woman, for a start. And then also a director of extremely successful franchise in Kung Fu Panda. So have you seen actionable change for you directly in your career just yet, or is this still something that's slowly happening?
I think it's definitely happening. It is a slow happening, but it's definitely happening, simply because people are aware of it. It's actually like, wow, there aren't any women doing this. Well, maybe we should consider it. And I think that if you're considered, then at least you can have a chance to compete.
This is a female that sits at the center of it. Is that sort of something that you were particularly interested in, or is that a side note to the fact this is just great characters and a good story?
It's always a side note. In fact, there's a massively diverse cast in this film, and that's based in the book. The book had a massively diverse set of characters that were all characters. It wasn't like, oh, that character is that diverse character. They're just great characters that happen to be diverse.
It's also, you are a producer on Stranger Things, and I always think about this idea of the attraction of stories that are about adolescents and kids who are exceptional. And why we're so attracted to that idea, why kids like that idea. Like, what does it say culturally?
Well, I think that anyone who is alive has been in that period where you're kind of between childhood and adulthood, and you feel like you are not in power of your universe. By giving these young characters powers that are beyond reality, I think you're kind of you're giving this fantasy of empowerment that everybody relates to.
It's actually very timely, I find, that it's not just about the fictitious situation. It's a science fiction story, but I think right now you see a lot of young people sort of stepping into assuming their power. They're realizing that no one's going to fix this. They've got to fix their own lives because they're the ones responsible for their own destiny.
Yeah, like it was sci-fi when we started. We didn't expect it to be social commentary. It wasn't intended, but we don't run from it because, if anything, we lean even more into the message of our movie, which is hopeful, which is aspirational, and kind of says there is a chance to rewrite the story of whatever's the next chapter.
Do you imagine that kids and teenagers that are going to see this film are going to be doubly interested because of the parallels and make those connections themselves.
I would hope so. You know, we go to movies for escape, but we also go for some kind of contemplation of the world that we live in. And the fact that this movie is now both, it's both escapist entertainment, but it's also very much a commentary on the now and on the world that young people are living in. I think that's added resonance, which to me only adds to the strength of the movie Jen's made.
It's encouragement. I think that it's sort of sharing together that everyone understands what everyone is going through, and encouragement that, yeah, you're not alone. Yeah, there's something that you're going through that we all understand, and we know how you feel.
It's very easy to blur the lines. This is a superhero movie, but it's not quite in the way that we would think of that right now. Do you have an attraction or aversion to how it's categorized, or does it not matter?
I always love normal with a tweak. I think that
the aesthetic of the movie, the tone of the movie feels like, oh wait, that's a world I know, but wait, something is a little bit dialed up. And I like the fact that it makes it resonate closer to home, and it also differentiates it, because the world doesn't need a copy of an X-Men movie. The world doesn't need a new version of someone trying to be Hunger Games. Darkest Minds is special because it's unique, and it's unique because of the filmmaker's vision.
The Darkest Minds on August 3rd, Real with a Twist, which is going to be my autobiography. I hope you don't mind.
I love it.
lifting that
I
for
love
me.
it.
Thank you so
Catchy.
much for joining
Thanks.
us today.
Thank you.